Hi everyone, Azriel Knight here, and welcome to day 3 of a fortnight of film, a vlogging marathon where I shoot a different roll of film every single day for 14 days. And in this case, I'll also be shooting for 3 bonus days as a result of making one of my stretch goals on Kickstarter. Thanks again to the 58 supporters who backed me. I couldn't have done this without you. Each day I ask on Instagram stories which film you'd like to see me shoot with the next day. And in yesterday's vote, it was a choice between Vision 3, 50D, and 250D. And yesterday, by a vote of 57%, you guys chose Vision 3, 250D. Now, if you guys aren't aware, Vision 3, 250D, and 50D are both motion picture film, re-rolled as 35mm film. So it's not like your typical color film. There is something on it called remjet. And if you develop this in C41 chemicals, you're going to have to wash off this remjet, this thick layer that ends up this gummy mess. I, however, have the proper color developing kit called ECN-2 that I bought in a film shop called the Film Experience Camera Store in Longview, Alberta. You might have seen that I wore the shirt for it yesterday. So this is all new to me. All of this information I'm providing you, I just learned. I'm not an expert, and that's what this whole marathon is about. For me shooting brand new film and you guys seeing my initial reactions, the good and the bad. Yesterday, for example, I shot Lomography's Berlin 120 film and I got mixed results. I didn't like it. I didn't like it for reasons that were my fault, and I didn't like it for reasons that I don't think were my fault. Today might be the same thing. I'm going to be using a film I've never shot before. Also happens to be a developing kit that I've never mixed before. And it was quite a different process than I'm used to. C41 is 3 bottles, developer Blix and Stab, or stabilizer. But the ECN-2 is pre-bath, develop, stop, bleach, fix. And it's a completely different process. So this is going to be a totally fresh experience for me with unpredictable results. And I'm excited. This is one I've been really excited for. And of course, nervous because I want the photos to turn out. I want great photos at the end of the episode. You guys want to see great photos at the end of the episode. I hope you're not rooting against me. There's probably a couple of you are, but that's okay. You're technically supporting the channel as well. I will be shooting today's film in my favorite camera, possibly of all time, the Nikon FE. And I've got a 50mm 1.8 and a 28-105. This is actually for autofocusing cameras, but it has worked just fine for me on my old manual focus camera. It's not the greatest lens. It's a 3.5 to 4.5 maximum aperture. It's got a neat little macro setting that you can set it to, but it's just your run-of-the-mill, everyday, generic lens, sort of an all-purpose. And that's what I want today. I want to get a bunch of different focal lengths and a bunch of different compositions and just go wild with it. So nothing to do now but get this film loaded. So Benjamin Poulton Studios did not make this film, they just re-rolled it. It is a 36 exposure. You can develop it in ECN-2 or C41, though you're going to get interesting color results from C41. With ECN-2, you're going to get the true color. Vision 3 film is designed to be processed using ECN-2 chemistry, which yields an optimum image. Let me do that in a movie voice. Which yields an optimal image. C41 process. Vision 3 film can be processed using C41 chemistry using the ECN-2 pre-bath solution. Please follow the directions outlined on the bottle. Yeah, so you can buy just the pre-bath and then use your C41 chems, or you can use total ECN-2. All right, the camera is all loaded, and today I thought I would head off to Chinatown. Now, I was sort of in Chinatown yesterday when I did the bridge. I'm not actually going to try and do that reshoot of that spot at the bridge today because I actually want to do it in black and white, maybe a higher speed film too. So I think I'll head back to the bridge when I do Chinatown in black and white, if I do it in black and white. But I thought one of the most colorful places in town is Chinatown, and it's not the best weather today, but it's the best weather for a Calgarian in a decade because, you know, this time last year, I'm pretty sure we had snow on the ground. I know I saw a shot from 2018 and it showed October 3rd and it was pure white. So I'll take what I can get for sure. And when that snow does hit, it'll be challenging to get super colorful shots with all that white, but that's what this marathon's all about, is challenges. Okay, I'm gonna head out now. I just left the Dragon City Mall and I got a lot of great shots in there. I switched to my 50mm lens for that, and most of the shots had to be taken at f2.8 or 1.8. But overall, it was great. I probably shot, I'd say about 10 shots in there and about 8 outside so far. And got about an hour to go on my car's meter, but feeling good today with this. Looks like it's gotten a little brighter out here since I was indoors, probably because it's intermittent clouds. So as quickly as it's shown up, it'll probably end up going away too. So yeah, I'm gonna just keep on keeping on. Okay guys, I got all my shots. I used up an entire bottle of hand sanitizer because, yeah, reasons. And I feel good about this one. I got a lot of varying shots of Chinatown. I definitely went to some places that I had never seen before. Oh, I gotta wait for the hand sanitizer to dry before I put it up to my nostrils. But yeah, there was only one shot that I'm really annoyed that I didn't make it. There was this massive flock of birds just swarming above this roof. They must have circled 3 times. I had just shot in a really dark spot, so I was at like f3.5 or something like that, and I needed to go to like f8 or f9.5, and so I lowered the first time to do that, and then the second time the shutter wouldn't fire because if you know the Nikon FE, it's locked when the advanced lever is pushed all the way in. You got to push it out. It's got to be at a 45-degree angle in order for the meter to be active and for you to be able to fire. And I've missed so many shots because the lever has been pushed all the way in. So incredibly frustrating not to be able to get that shot. I ended up standing there for about, I want to say almost 10 minutes waiting for that flock of birds to just swoop around again. But they were all nestled tight on the rooftop, and yeah, incredibly disappointing. I mean, I miss shots, but it's not often that I am this frustrated that I missed that shot. So next time I'm in Chinatown, I'm gonna go back to that spot and see if they're there. I mean, there's so many birds in that area. I would be really surprised if they weren't there. Anyway, time to get home and get into the darkroom and see what we got. Okay, everyone, I'm back home now. I'm in the darkroom and I am ready to develop this roll. That was an incredibly frustrating and messy experience. Whoa. I'm not expecting great things from this roll, I'll tell you straight up front. I am so frustrated and nervous right now, and I'm going to explain in detail in a moment here. The film is doing its 5-minute final wash. One moment. So the first thing that was really frustrating was that there's the pre-wash that needs to be at 80 Fahrenheit. The developer needs to be at 106 Fahrenheit, and everything else is somewhere in the range of 80 to 100 Fahrenheit. So I used a small hot plate to get the pre-bath to 80 Fahrenheit. And then I used the sous vide for everything else to get it over 100. And then once the developer was at 106, everything else came out and just sat at room temperature and was able to drop in temperature while I was getting everything else sorted out. And I was not expecting the tank to just explode in my face. Here are my protective goggles in my pocket where they shouldn't be. So there's that. And then there was a moment where I was like, I cannot remember if the developer's been in for 1 minute or 2 minutes, because I'm using one of these analog timers. And it's not always completely clear what minute it's on unless you're looking directly over it. So I tend to count out loud whatever minute it is. And then at another point, I poured some of the wash exchange back into the sous vide. So I really had to ride on the idea or the hope that it was diluted enough not to mess with the rest of the process. A ton went wrong. If these photos are at all salvageable, I will be ecstatic. I will be elated if this turned out. There's the timer. Okay, I promise you I have not looked yet. Well, I mean, yes, I did look down and I saw one frame, but they're still on the spool here. I'm gonna put some gloves back on first, and then we'll see what's gonna happen here. Oh my god. I can tell you right now, I don't like the ECN-2 process whatsoever. In the future, I'm going to try the pre-bath and then just go straight to C41. And yeah, I mean, either that or I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna buy 2 more sous vides and 2 more buckets, so everything's at the perfect temperature that it needs to be. Here we go. My god. They look fairly normal. They look a little light. And there is some tiny remnants of remjet where the spool is. There is some settling of the way that the negatives look, like color negatives in general. But these look normal. I can't believe it. I mean, I won't know until I get them on the scanner, but these look really normal considering what a mess, what a hot piece of garbage of a development job I did. I'm gonna get these hung up. Oh, there is one thing that I did forget. I forgot to do photo flow, so I'm gonna actually have to take them off, try and get them back on a track. Okay. That was incredibly nerve-wracking. But I got it through the photo flow. They're hanging up to dry. They look like normal negatives, though I won't be certain until I scan them. I'm going to have to wait for them to dry. You're not going to have to wait, though. Here are today's highlights. Hey folks, it's been an incredibly long night. I really hope you enjoyed those highlights because as I'm recording this, I'm still scanning them in. I've just got my issues sorted out. Let me break it down for you. After the negatives dried, I went to do my initial scan and I noticed they were really cloudy, like streaky cloudy, and these crystalline like formations all across the negatives. And they were just completely unusable. The scans looked horrible, so horrible. So the first thing that I did is rewash them and put them in photo flow and let them dry again. But even as they were drying, I could immediately tell that it was not going to solve the issue. So I started Googling and I came up with a website that basically said to use isopropyl isopropyl. I'm going to say it's isopropyl. That's as close as I'm going to get to being able to pronounce that. At least 98%, and a lint-free cloth, and it should clean up any excess gunk that you can't get off by normal means. So I hit my local grocery store. My local grocery store did not have 98%. All they had was 70%. So I hit another store and they had 99%. Fantastic. So I came back and I wiped the negatives, and this black crap came right off onto the cloth. I'm assuming it's excess rem jet. It might not actually be what was cloudy on it. It seems to have taken care of the problem. Not 100%. There's still a couple of smudgy areas that are just not coming off. And at this point, I got to take my loss on those frames. But the way it was before and the way it was now would have been a completely different ending to this episode. And I was almost at the point where I had to give up because, you know, if this was just normal shooting and normal scanning, I'd be like, whatever, I'll take care of it tomorrow. But I've got to shoot another roll of film tomorrow. Right now, you guys are battling over whether or not I'm going to shoot film Frania P30 or Ortho, Ilford Ortho Plus. And yeah, so I just can't have that work piling on, plus vlogging, plus shooting this part right now. So I've just completed a set of scans where the negatives look passable. There's a few specks of, dust and lint that I couldn't get off, and I'll just touch that up like I normally do. But it's like night and day. It is so different from where I started out. And I'm sorry I don't have the original scans, but I was just so frustrated and I just wanted to get it done, and I didn't have time to videotape myself solving the problem too. So please forgive me for that. Yeah, the photos look great. So just putting all that aside, the photos look fantastic. The color is beautiful. And I think I got some winners here as far as composition goes, and I got some interesting shots for sure. Will I use ECN2 developer again? Yes, but I am going to seek out some kind of second or third sous vide or another way to keep the temperatures on the other chemicals, because it was a mess. It was like trying to put out a fire while I was on fire. It wasn't a fun time. And I think that the film developing experience should be a fun time. So I'm either going to seek out a second sous vide or some other alternative, like a controllable hot plate where I can actually keep the temperature at a certain amount or something to that degree. Until then, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if I'll use this again during this marathon. And for the next few days, I might take my risk level films down a little bit to give myself a bit of a break. Great learning experience, though, and I hope you got something out of it too. And until tomorrow, stay classic. Every time I vocalize what I want to do, I end up screwing up, so I'm going to keep it under wraps. Hey guys, a bit of an editor's note here. As it turns out, you are supposed to wipe down the film, but you're supposed to do it with photo flow. And I'm not too sure if that would have solved my issue, and I cannot be sure what my issue is, but I do explain it in a little bit more detail in tomorrow's episode.